welcome to GameBabble. I'm your host, Jell. The Gunblade NY and LA Machineguns Arcade Hits Double Pack is a port of two arcade rail shooters, both well over a decade old. I'm happy about this, though, because it means I can finally play the fucking things without getting my quarters stolen. No, seriously, these things consistently ate my quarters. I had to avoid playing them, so it's great to finally be able to play them without losing my fucking money. Anyway, with a release this obscure, you'd kinda expect them to just half-ass the port, slap them on the disc, and be done with it. Luckily, Sega did go the extra mile, and both ports are rock solid. They have a full array of options, widescreen support, unlockable home console exclusive weapons, and an online high scoreboard. Now, as you might have guessed, with both of them being packed together, both games are quite simple. They're both rail shooters where you fly around the city with a machine gun blowing up robot terrorists. One thing that's noteworthy is that unlike light gun shooters, which are dulled by the addition of crosshairs, this game had a crosshair even in the arcade release, meaning the game was designed around having a crosshair. What's more, the arcade release had no power-ups, lock-on missiles, screen-clearing bombs, alternate weapons, or even reloading. You just had infinite ammo rapid fire. With both a crosshair and infinite rapid fire, you'd expect these games to be pretty damn easy and mindless. However, they were designed with this in mind, and both of them find ways to keep the challenge up. There's literally a generational gap between the two titles, with Gunblade NY running on the Saturn-esque Model 2 hardware, and LA Machineguns running on the Dreamcast-esque Model 3 hardware. As such, most people would opt to stick to LA Machineguns. After all, it's the same thing, except better, right? However, that's not actually the case. Both titles have their own unique flavor that makes them both a worthwhile play. So let's start with Gunblade. Running on weaker hardware, Gunblade NY has smaller stages and fewer enemies. As such, to keep the challenge up, the enemies are much more difficult to defeat, taking a large number of hits and actually dodging your attacks in real time. This is rather unique, as I don't think I've ever seen a rail shooter actually have enemies dodge in this way. What's more, the camera then gives chase. This leads to Gunblade NY's most exciting feature. There are no preset rails. The enemies react to your bullets, and the camera reacts to the enemies. What this ultimately means is that every time you play, you will be taking a completely different path. This completely destroys memorization. There's nothing I hate more than when people just memorize where enemies spawn and pop them off the moment they show up and get the maximum score. Yeah, none of that bullshit here. The exact position of the enemies is constantly changing, they're constantly dodging in different ways, and the camera is always in a different position. So no two playthroughs are exactly the same. Gunblade NY has two different campaigns, easy and hard, each one 5 stages long. However, what's most enjoyable would have to be Score Attack Remix, which not only adds a combo-based scoring system, but also mixes up stages from easy and hard mode, which one you encounter being dependent on how well you did on each stage. As such, mixing up the stages and having each playthrough of the stage be different every time makes this the most enjoyable way to play Gunblade NY. One thing that deserves mentioning is that between the machine gun noises and constant explosions, the shaking of the machine gun controller, and the deafening volume of whatever arcade you were in, chances are you didn't hear a single fucking note of this music, which makes the volume control in this game actually a selling point, if you ask me. Because holy shit, Gunblade NY has fucking awesome music. It's like missing Virtual-On music. Should I almost go so far as to call this game like a combination of Virtual-On and Virtua Cop? I might be crazy, though. LA Machineguns, on the other hand, has more powerful hardware, and as such has more enemies and larger environments. It also adds a different combo-based scoring system, along with civilians. Luckily, the civilians do not kill you, they merely deduct points from your score. As such, their solution to the Crosshair's infinite rapid fire problem is to just throw shit tons of enemies at you at ridiculously high speeds while whipping you through city streets. However, to counteract this, enemies dodge much less and die much faster. While it still mixes things up enough to kick memorization in the balls, it's a much more traditional rail shooter experience. What's more, there's only 5 stages total in this one. They're longer and you can tackle them in any order. I wouldn't call either game superior or inferior to the other, though. I'm just saying that you really should give both of them a shot, as they both have their own unique flavor. And especially because there's not much content here. Both campaigns in Gunblade NY can be breezed through in about 10 minutes, and I don't think it's going to take too much longer to get through LA Machineguns, so you're looking at about 40, 5 minutes worth of content here. They're decade-old rail shooters. I mean, shit, the events of Gunblade NY took place 5 years ago. There's actually a few ads they had to replace in Times Square stage. Most noteworthy, though, is the fact they replaced the Coke ad with an ad for Sonic and the Black Knight. Not only is it surreal seeing an ad for that game in essentially a fucking Saturn game, but that game doesn't come out until 4 years after the events of the game you're playing. As such, I find these games incredibly hard to give a score to. I want to give them a 4 out of 5. However, with that little content, it's really hard to. As such, I'm giving it a 3.8. They're both fantastic games, quite possibly the best turret-style rail shooters ever made, and I definitely recommend them to fans of the genre. However, yeah, it's short but sweet. Anyway, this is Gel, and you've been GameBabble.